Hi Wolves, today we are going to be making a Ganja White Knight inspired song. It sounds like this. In this video I'm going to show you all the different parts that go into this and go through and play each track one by one. So hopefully you can learn something from this video. If you like the video, like and subscribe, you know the drill. But for now, let's get into it, starting with the build. For the build, we start out with an impact. There's not much to talk about there. A couple of transition effects, and a snare. Starting at the very beginning, there's a clap, and then we bring in another clap. And there's a downlift. For the instruments, we start with a vocal. This vocal plays throughout the song, and it changes throughout, but in the very beginning, it's just this vocal loop. And then that continues into the drop. The first drop sounds like this. For the drums, they sound like this. And the way this is set up is that the first two bars are supposed to build tension. So there's silence here mostly, there's no snare. Then after the first two bars, the snare comes in, and so does the percussion. And then there's these risers to help build tension, and also a riser before the halfway point. And then it repeats. For the vocals, it's still just the same loop. There's a lot of envelopes in here to control the volume. I'm also using Shaper Box for that. To duck the snare. And because of the sidechain, there's a lot of clicking sounds. So I'm doing a lot of fades on these to stop the clicking. If we didn't have those fades, it would sound like this. There's a few pops in there. It's not that bad here, but it would be. That's pretty standard. The bass, pretty standard. This song is in G, so the bass is pretty loud. It's just a saw wave, low pass, some glue compression. And at the end of the first drop, we transition straight into a build, because the second drop is going to be dubstep. So to keep the energy high, we go straight into the build. And that part sounds like this. Continue. So for the build, the drums are different. This build has a kick. It also has more snares. And it has more risers. This riser I made from the vocals. If we take a vocal here, one part of it, it sounds like that. And then if we put this on it, the wolves rise up. It's going to sound really bad, but this is how I made the riser. Yeah. It's also this siren riser. And a really high-pitched downlifter to fill out the frequencies more. At this point in the song, we bring in the leads from the second drop. That sounds like this. So the way I made this is just a sample from the drop that I froze, flattened, and we're just repeating it for the build-up. This is also from the drop. This plays about halfway through, just to build more tension during the build-up. Right before the drop, we have a vocal.
This is a Pink and Flicker.
It's two samples that I ran through a vocoder, and then I just bounced them to audio and saved them. This is what the drop sounds like. For the drums, we have different drums than the first drop. We have a different siren riser to build tension, but we're still using the pattern of the first two bars of the drums are mostly silence, and then after that, it returns to normal. It's the same kick as the first drop. The snare is different. This snare has a separate group for the second drop, so it runs through different processing. But it's just reverb, really, and EQ and midside. The percussion. Pretty standard, just a ride, a downlift, and a hi-hat. The hi-hat I'm panning left and right. And then the ride is panned right to left. So if we listen to both of these, they're panned in opposite directions, so they're a little bit easier to hear when they play at the same time. The drop this is how I made the drop. I used a drum bus, filled it with samples that I made, put an ARP in the beginning, and set the ARP to random. So it's going to play a different sample every time. The ARP is set to quarter notes and eighth notes. So this is a recreation of how I made it. It is just like this. This is what the MIDI looks like. It's going to play a random sample each time. And it's playing the melody that the vocal is playing. And the way it's doing that is it's going through a spectral resonator that has this carrier set as the MIDI carrier. So it's going to resonate at the frequencies that are determined by this MIDI here. And this MIDI is just the melody of the vocal loop. I have the stretch really low, the decay really low, and I don't really use any of the other settings in here. So without that, it sounds like this. It doesn't sound bad, but it's not playing the melody, so we use this to make it play the melody. Then it goes through multiband compression, some EQ that plays with each note, boosting and taking away the highs, and then soft clip. And then what I did is you get another MIDI track and you set the input to be that channel. We should be able to record the MIDI. Now if I take that MIDI and I put it on the bus and I turn the ARP off, we should hear that same thing. Yeah, I don't use this so much for creating full drops. It's sometimes really useful for creating bass fills, but I did want to play around with it for this song. That's just how I made this one. So what I did is just that, record the MIDI. You can go through and you can EQ each one of the samples using this MIDI, because now it's not going to be random because we've recorded the MIDI and we've turned the ARP off, so we know exactly what samples are going to play. I played around with that and I froze it and flattened it, and that's what this is. I added a sub layer. It's just a saw sub. And then I ran this bounced lead through some glitch machines that I made to get these weird sounding glitch fills. I can show you how I made these. You take your bounced lead and then you run it through the Wolves Sound Badizer. So in this, we're going through another spectral resonator, 2 of them. And then we go through serum filters Then we do some volume shaping, and then delay, and then 2 phasers. And so before it sounded like this, then after it sounds like this. So I recorded that, and that's where these fills came from. Second half of the drop is pretty similar. There's some slight variations in the rhythm. For the layers in the drop, or the undercarriage, they sound like this. Pretty standard. This synth chord sound I made in Serum. It's just a saw with a envelope that takes out the high end. Just white noise in the beginning, and then after the first 2 bars, there's this tattoo gun sound. It's being panned right to left, and then it goes through an auto filter to give it a little bit of rhythm. And then just some other effects, a siren, some vocal samples. Let me know in the comments if you know where this is from. That's all pretty standard though. At halfway, we switch back to the white noise to build more tension. So that and the drums are where we're getting the tension from. That sounds like this. And then that's the first half of the song. We have the first drop, which is kind of a trap, vocal chop loop. Second drop is a dubstep, and then it kind of repeats that structure. We go straight into another build. You'll see. So this build is slightly different. The vocal loop is a little bit different. It's just chopped up in a different way. And the way I come up with these different variations in the vocal chops, sometimes I know exactly what I want to do with it. Other times I don't know, and I just know that I want to create a variation. A good way to do this is with Shaperbox and the time module, and then kind of just flip through these. So this is before, and then we'll just try these different presets. And you can use multiple of those, and then I will usually just bounce that to audio. So there's some slight variation here in the vocal chop, but the drums stay the same, the bass stays the same. This is pretty much the same as the first drop outside of the vocal chop. fourth build. It's a similar structure. We switch to the dubstep drums for the build. And we start to bring in our dubstep lead, which is just from the drop. Sounds like this. And for this drop, the way I made it is the same. I used the spectral resonator and the drum bus, but this time I used it with a completely different set of samples, mostly different. Not all of them are different, but some of them are. And so it kind of has a similar melody and a similar feel because it's ran through the same effects, but it sounds different. And this is what it sounds like.
This is a think and flicker. That's ironic.
So I'll talk about the processing a little bit here. Most of the processing was done before I flattened everything, like I showed you here. EQing the individual samples, playing around with the spectral resonator to get that right, and then bouncing that to audio. And then the leads, the bass, the vocals are all routed through the same group. And there's not a lot of processing on this. A little bit of dynamic EQing, controlling the width, trying to keep the width above the 0 point. There's a few different plugins you can use to check your width and make sure it's where it's supposed to be. You'll see this dot here move up and down. Usually you want it to be above the 0 point here, especially the lower frequencies. You usually want it to be more mono. You want this dot to be more towards the top. The higher frequencies, it's all right if it goes closer to 0. Just in general, that's a good rule of thumb. This is what it looks like in Ozone. This one is pretty thin. Usually, instead of this dot being at the top, it'll be closer to the middle. These samples were kind of thin, and so I didn't try to make them wide. I just let them be more thin, and we're kind of getting width from the hi-hats and the ride. And then on the group, we're also doing saturation, more saturation on the width than in the middle. And then a little bit of dynamic EQ, just to clear up the highs a little bit. The build drums and the drop drums all go through the same group. And that group also has an ozone on it, doing the same things. Dynamic EQ, controlling the width, saturation, and then controlling the high end a little bit. On the main channel, there's not much. I have an ozone on it right now, just to make it louder and clip it a little bit. And for a dubstep song, I'll keep this on when I'm making the song, but when I make the final export, I'll take this off. So this is what it would sound like without ozone. And all that's really doing is just making it louder. It's just pushing it up into a clipper. So if I used my own clipper for this, it would probably sound something like this. Yeah, it doesn't sound as good, but that's all that's doing here. And then I'll take that off when I make the final export. I have a washout on the main channel because I was gonna wash out the leads and the drums anyways. And sometimes that's just easier to do on the main channel. So this washout just turns on when it's needed after the end of the last drop.
That's ironic.
Why? Because I'm from the hood?
And it just uses reverb to make everything fade out. And that's it for this song. Let me know in the comments if there's anything I missed. Let me know if there's any other songs you want me to make a video about. For right now, I'm just gonna play the last drop of this song, then I'll let the video end. Peace out, y'all.
Everything can flicker. That's ironic.
Why? Because I'm from the hood?
Dink and flicker.